righty, welcome everybody to our 41st episode of Brownsville Tech Live. And in the house tonight, we've got Carlos Elizondo. He is running for BISD board for place one. Mr. Elizondo, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, for those of you out there, you can catch us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Spotify. And for those driving tomorrow, you can catch us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And for you gamers out there, you can catch us on Twist. We are the only local podcast on 6 social media networks. So, Mr. Elizondo, welcome to our show. I know that you're currently running for the school board. I believe you were on the board before many years ago. But can you give the viewers out there who may not know you a little background about yourself, where you're from, what you've done in the past, why you're running for the school board, and what are your plans moving forward?
Sure. So my name is Carlos Elizondo. I'm 50 years old. I've lived in Brownsville my entire life. I went through Perez Elementary, Oliveira Middle School, and ended up at Hanna, Homer Hanna High School. That's where I graduated from. From there, of course, I went through to TSC and got a paramedic or an associate in science with with finishing that degree, I started working for the city in '97. I went through the EMS portion of it, became a firefighter, and ended up as a firefighter paramedic. While I was in the career as a professional firefighter paramedic, I went to school for a nurse. So before I left the city, I ended up having successfully completed the nursing course at South Texas College, and then came over and got a bachelor's at the University of Texas in Brownsville. And right now, I'm currently in the family nurse practitioner program, so I should be done that within that next year.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Public service, health is what I've done for my entire life.
Yeah. And
And so
what
what
would
I want to do with
go ahead.
so what I want to why I want to run again is because there's a lot of programs that have been taken away from the school district, and that when you do that, you take away the opportunities of our students. One of them, of course, is the fire program. This current board just stopped the fire program, and then the EMT program that allows these kids to go through the EMT program and then use it as let's say a platform to go into something else. They're looking into getting rid of that as well. And before I left, I was just starting a program which is the LVN program, the licensed vocational nurse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that was, you as a student within the high school, it would allow you to go into the LVN program, and when you graduate, you would have a license, passing all the curriculum, of course, and you would graduate either 17 or 18-year-old with an LVN license. And what that would be is super impactful for these kids, especially the family,
Mm-hmm.
because you would have a student at 17 or 18 years old already in the market, especially now, as you know, there's a scarce throughout the United States and even the world where there's no nurses available or not enough nurses available.
Mm-hmm.
And imagine if these kids would come out into the workforce with an LVN license, making between 45 and $65,000 a year.
Wow.
How impactful would that be for the family unit?
Right.
And then at no cost to those members.
Right.
And so when I left, that was scrapped. And so I want to come back and get these programs back online.
Yeah.
Give these kids the opportunity to be successful, uh, and give them more choices.
You touched on something that I think I've had conversations with a lot of people. And I'm not sure why those programs have been eliminated. I mean, you hear about, auto mechanics being done away with, a lot of the trades, and there's this viewpoint, I guess, two sides to things. There's people that believe that, we should focus on math, science, and technology. And then there's those that say, well, not everybody's going to be a mathematician or a scientist or somebody in IT. There may be some people that want to do the trades, but there seems to be this movement where the trades have been kind of, done to the side. In fact, eliminated. I mean, I've even heard of places up north and even out in California where they get rid of the ROTC program, you know, as well. So, I mean, what do you think has actually, what is the reason they've eliminated these programs? Is it because the focus on wanting everybody to get a 4-year degree, or what? I just don't understand that. Yeah.
So what I think is that, and you're probably the same age I am. We're 32 years old.
Yeah.
And but remember when we when we were in high school, that and even in middle school, it was always taught to us that we were going to go get a 4-year degree, right?
Right.
And then develop even into a master's program or a doctorate program, continue education. Now, what and they put a lot of emphasis on that,
Right.
and they went away from the manual trades, from the skilled trades. You know, like you just mentioned, body mechanics, AC repair, maybe a electrical technician, construction, a lot of these trades were put to the back because I guess they didn't get the emphasis that they are now.
Yeah.
Because what's happened is you pushed everybody through the college, spectrum, and you've left these manual trades to dwindle. And now
Right.
you're seeing that now high schools and these programs are looking for these, even the university level, your college, your local colleges are looking to make sure that they attract, HVAC technicians, electricians, plumbers, nurses, EMTs, firefighters, and you're looking at all these manual trades. And that's something that we had at the high school level. And we're going back to it
Right.
because manual trades now, and like you just mentioned right now, not everybody's going to go to a 4-year degree, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's what we shoot for. That's our goal, and that's what we want everybody to go to. But the reality is that an HVAC technician makes really, really good money.
Oh yeah.
A master plumber makes really, really good
Oh, the
money.
plumber does. I've had experience
You
there.
know, and their trades are needed. They
Right.
are something that we just can't live without.
Right.
And so especially when you need a plumber or an HVAC technician, especially here in the valley, they're like, please, please come over right now.
Yes.
And so we're having issues, and I think that's we just shied away from that, and we're coming back to it. And but my since I have a lot of experience in the healthcare industry, my thing was EMT. An EMT is not just an EMT. He can go work in just about anywhere,
Yeah.
an ER, a doctor's office, a nursing home, just about anywhere.
Yeah.
The emergency, management division as well. There's places for us. Firefighters just the same,
Yeah.
you know. And now with the healthcare the way it is with these pandemics that we've gone through, LVNs are huge.
Right.
RNs are huge. There's not enough. The schools are not being able to educate enough nurses fast enough for the demand that the United States has put on the healthcare industry.
Right.
And so if we could do that at a high school level, can you imagine the impact not only throughout the state of Texas, but at your local hospitals, at your local clinics, within those emergency management demands?
Yeah.
It would have been huge if we weren't able to get 30, 40 kids out every year to go into the healthcare industry.
Yeah.
And this board has just squashed that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because it's a payback to the previous individual who wanted to push these programs forward, and we need to leave those politics outside.
Yeah.
There's no room for that kind of politics. Being upset because of someone else's idea, that doesn't play a factor, especially when you're educating children.
Right. Well, let's touch a little bit about something, recent. Obviously, the COVID pandemic over the last 2 years was pretty devastating with regards to, people in general. I lost about 3 or 4 individual family members to COVID. That wasn't easy. But one of the things that I noticed at the early start of the pandemic was that the school district didn't seem to be prepared for how to deal with not only controlling the access into the schools, being able to keep students that were sick away from the schools, I mean, we could even go and talk about the technology. Kids waiting in line to get hotspots. And, I had one of your uh, fellow opponents the other night before, and I had the county judge a couple of days prior to that. And I was really, focusing on the fact that, kids shouldn't have to wait in line for a hotspot or a Chromebook. But what do you think the district could have done better in retrospect, with respects to what we went through over the last 2 years?
Well, being again, this is my cup of tea. Being a former fire chief for the city of Brownsville, being a reservist for the Management Division for the state of Texas in response to global pandemics, in this case, COVID. I've been working as a travel nurse throughout the state of Texas, especially in an ICU. I spent almost the last 2.5 years working with COVID patients. And the biggest thing that we've seen is that the district, in this case, was never going to be prepared because they never took that proactive approach.
Mm-hmm.
They are very reactive in the way they do business.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, educators are not nurses, educators are not healthcare givers. And so they should have known, and people are always going to say, well, they didn't. They should have prepared.
Mm-hmm.
When you know there's a hurricane in the Gulf, what do you do? Do you prepare? Or do you wait till it's in front of your door, right?
Yeah.
And so they should have done that proactive approach instead of a reactive approach. And when they did the reactive approach, we lost members of our community. We've lost employees of the school district. We lost children. We've lost our loved ones. In most cases, um, in your case, you know three people that lost their lives. This was a not only a global pandemic but a local pandemic to our school district.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened, this current board had failed to act. They reacted, and when they reacted, it was a little too late. They have lost already one too many lives,
Mm-hmm.
and you can never get that back. You can never say, "Well, we're going to prepare for the next one." Yeah, but you lost lives already. You
Mm-hmm.
could have prepared for it. You could have reacted immediately, and you decided to take a backseat approach. And when you do that, the outcome is the loss of life.
Right.
And now we're trying to hurry up and catch up to where we need to be, and you see that now. And when you do that, you fail now the educational process because now you're trying to catch up to the safety, and the safety of our children. And so now the educational process is taking a backseat, and you've seen these. The local school district claims to have an A-rated school district. Yes, they do, because they average out. If you look at domain one, you have about 6 elementary schools that didn't even qualify. They have an NR, means it's either an F, a D, or an F status. They
Mm-hmm.
don't put a D or an F. It just puts us at an NR, and that's what they're not talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's still holes that we need to plug, and we don't have the current board is not proactive enough to be able to make those things happen. And this is one of the reasons that I'm running as well, making sure that we can push the people at the top to make the decisions today and not tomorrow.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I talked about, the other night with Mr. Cowan, it's a topic that I mentioned was, the fact that over the last couple of years, we've seen a poaching, and I use the term poaching, of students from BISD to IDEA.
Hmm.
They seem to be poaching kids more and more these days over to these charter schools. What do you think BISD needs to do to stop the bleeding when it comes to the poaching? I mean, you're putting your kids, and I'm talking from experience here because my daughter went to private school from K3 to 6, and then we decided to put her in IDEA. Okay, and she was there for 2 years, and quite honestly, I didn't like it. I didn't like their curriculum. I felt like they're pushing their kids to be robots. I have a problem with them when it comes to saying that a 5-year-old should make a decision which college they should go. I mean, most of us didn't even know what we wanted to major in after
Right,
graduation.
right.
So it was very stressful. So we pulled my daughter out of IDEA because of the stress and because of the fact they had no extracurricular activities like music and choir and band like that. But but these parents seem to be taking their kids out of BISD and putting them into these charter schools. I mean, what do you think needs to happen? Where have we failed to get the message out to these parents that, the charter schools aren't what they claim to be?
I mean, that's a really good question. There's a lot of caveats, but beyond that, but most definitely, you are correct. And an idea is not bad,
No, I'm
but
not
it's
saying
not.
they're bad.
No,
It's
no,
just a
right, right.
different
No,
environment. Yeah.
correct. It's not bad, and that's what I'm saying, because I'm gonna go off right now, and I'm just gonna lay the foundation. But it's not a bad environment, right?
Right.
Because now you have choices, and so what IDEA has done to BISD allow us to sharpen our blade, if you want to put it that way, and with competition creates a better environment, right? So
Right.
BIZ has been able to up their game, and this. What happens with IDEA is they have a very very good salesman,
Right.
and that's what they get paid for. Just like your car salesman, they'll go in there and they'll sell you and sell you. They'll make you ride their best car because it's got all the bells and the whistles, right?
Yeah.
But what you can afford and what they actually promote is the lowest that they have, right?
Yeah.
And so now you're like, well, but you told me all this is great. Yeah, I told you this is what you can do, but this is what we actually offer,
Yeah.
right? And so what happens is a lot of kids go in there with the notion, yeah, everybody, even BISD, we want every kid to go to college.
Right.
That's always been, and it's not something that they advertise, but that's something that every individual that works at BSD, from the person that opens the doors to the person that closes it, to the individuals that sit in the classroom with your kids for over 10 to 12 hours a day. In most cases, they do, extracurricular activities. They're there for one mission and one mission only, is to make sure that they can impose the education they were given into that child and make him a better person.
Yeah.
And so what happens at Ideas, they go in there and yeah, it's pretty, it's brand new, it's great. But in reality, they cannot compete with BISD. They cannot compete with the public education that's been offered at the school. And everybody has problems, right? In
Right.
every place you go. But if you look at the buck for the value or the value for the buck, you're looking at BISD giving you more for what idea is offering, and you'll have a lot of transitions, especially in the elementary, the early school years. They'll go into the idea programs, your jubilees. There's so many now. And then they look at it as like, hey, my kid is not playing games. They're not taking a holistic approach. They're not socializing, because it's not just about sitting in the classroom and then feeding you, history, English, reading, and stuff like that. It's about, going out there with your friends, playing ball, cheerleading, social events, and stuff like that. And they don't have that. They incorporate something like soccer, but that's it. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very basic. And so your kid eventually, there's a lack, not only education but your social skills as well. And so what parents see is, my kid's not getting what they promised, so they
Right.
transition back the into the later years, which is usually your middle school and your high school year, because of sports, because of UIL activities, competition, and stuff like that, because that's what makes your kid whole.
Right.
You know, you'll have your kids that love to be in the library and be in the books and stuff like that, and that's great, but that's not for everybody.
Right.
You know, imagine if they wouldn't allow us, you and I, we probably were spent all the afternoon after school outside playing until the sun came down and we went back inside.
Right.
If we had that, we wouldn't be the people that we are today. And
Exactly.
I, I think taking the holistic approach, making sure that all the kids' needs are met, that's the best education you can offer, and BISD does that.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you another topic that I discussed the other night. It has to do with school safety. I mean, we had Uvalde a few months ago, and there's been great debate over what the solution is. There's one side that believes that we should arm our teachers. There's another side that believes this, that we have to focus on mental health. What is your position with regards to school safety? And keep in mind that when you and I were in school, I mean, most fights got settled outside. Okay,
That's
and it
right.
was with
At the blacktop.
fists.
That's right.
Okay, I mean, We barely had cops. I don't think we did. I think we had these big hall monitors, but that was
You
about
had
it.
you had the big P coaches.
Exactly. So we didn't have those kind of problems. I mean,
That's
what's
right.
changed? But I mean, which side is correct? Do we arm the teachers to the hilt? Or do we focus on mental health? Or do we just get our students to toughen up and face reality that life's not always easy or fair? I mean, what's your thinking on this?
I mean, the reality of life is not everybody gets first place, right?
Right.
So what we've done is everybody has gotten a participation ribbon,
Yeah.
and I think that's
Everybody's a
all
winner.
throughout. Everybody's winning, and we know reality is now. Once you come out to the workplace, guess what? There's only one number one, right? And then
Right.
everything goes from there. And so it creates a lot of a drive to be able to be successful and to you want to be at the top. So it creates competition. Competition is good because it not only hones your skills, but it develops someone, wholly. So what's happening with the safety issue, I think it's number one. Yes, we can't take a backseat approach because you can see what happened in Uvalde, right? But do I think and 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 some people are not going to like my answer, but do I think that we should arm teachers? I don't think we should.
Yeah.
I think teachers are educators, like nurses are healthcare givers, police officers are law enforcement, and firefighters fight fires, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a skill that they develop. And so what happens when you do that? Some teachers would be okay carrying a weapon, right, to defend the kids that
That they
they're cared for. But at the same time, with my history, I've been to many gunshot wounds. I've been to many deaths, suicides, a lot of these issues. Once that bullet leaves that muzzle, it completely changes people's lives.
right.
I went to the shooting at Cummings. I was the first paramedic to arrive. Those officers, if you could see their faces, and I'm going to tell you because I saw everybody by the time I got to that child, they were distraught and they were hurting.
Yeah.
It changed their lives immediately. Can you imagine a teacher?
Yeah.
Can you imagine what that's gonna do to the rest of their life? Yes, if it's in the best intention, yes, I understand that. But once that bullet leaves the muzzle, it changes people's lives.
Yeah.
And so now you got to look mental health. Yeah, mental health is a big aspect on why things happen, but we don't have it. They're putting the burden of mental health now, especially in the school district. BISD wants to put the burden on the counselors.
Right.
The counselors are academic counselors. And yes,
Correct.
some of them do assist with some of these issues and diffusing some of these moments. But you need professionals
Right.
that do this on a daily basis. I think
Right.
the attention should be there.
Right. Yeah, because
But
the
how do we get
academic
there?
counselors don't have much of a psychology background, right?
Well, they're forcing them to talk to these kids about suicide, about rape, about you know uh, abuse. And yes, we have great counselors, and a lot of them take the burden in doing so. But also, you like I'm going to tell you, my wife is a counselor at a high school level.
Hmm.
She has 600 students that she has to care for throughout the next 4 years because the counselor follows the class. So
Right.
right now, she's a freshman counselor. Can you imagine how good is she going to be able to provide mental health to over 600 students? Not every student is going to need it, right?
Right.
But you tell me, academics, extra duties, extra paperwork,
Yeah.
mental health, issues with uh, um, physical problems, issues with administration. I mean, it just they get bogged down. How effective are these counselors going to be?
Right.
They probably are not.
Yeah.
you know and so now you burn that counselor to have to go out there and react because they're by law there's some things that they have to report, right? Child abuse, sexual assault, and etc. There's many other ones. And so now you're going to burden them to be able to handle the mental health of this kid.
Right.
When does it stop for these individuals? So what do we have to do? There's there's SMEs, subject matter experts within the school system.
Hmm.
Those are called your educators. They have the solutions. The thing here is that this current board has forgotten to listen to their experts.
Hmm.
They're more interested in building buildings and spending money and raising taxes because Daniel, that they just raised the taxes
I
within the
heard
last
about
2
that.
weeks.
Right.
Why would you do that to a community that is hurting right now?
Right.
Because you failed to stay with the constraints of your own budget that you approved.
Right.
So how fair is that now to burden these individuals with more duties because now they have to do more with less?
Right.
So now teachers are leaving the school district, and they'll come back and say, "Well, that's happening worldwide. That's happening throughout the U.S." Yeah, but we don't have control what happens in California. We have no control what happens in North Carolina. We have control what happens in BISD, Brownsville Independent School District.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we have control.
Yeah.
Let's take care of what we can control here at a local level.
Right.
Don't excuse yourself because it's happening worldwide.
Right.
And so now teachers, and I'm not just saying teachers, you got custodians now. The schools haven't grown any bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but their work duties have. So
Right.
let's say a custodian now at a school district was doing, they're responsible for 500 square feet of space, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now they double it. Now they have to do 1,000 square feet. Same pay, more work, more stress, and and
Yeah.
and 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 you multiply that throughout every position throughout the school district. How is that fair for these employees? But now they come back, well, we gave you a $4,000 raise, Daniel. You should be quiet. You should be happy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what they don't tell you is that they didn't give $4,000 to everybody.
Right.
They only did it through because it's an election cycle. But yet now the burden falls on the taxpayers because they increased the taxes.
Right.
So yes, should we be paying teachers more? Most definitely.
Yeah.
But should we pass the burden over to the taxpayers? Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, one of the next topics I did want to talk about was with regards to, teachers and obviously teacher pay. Also teacher retention. You mentioned that teachers are leaving the field. What can we do about teacher pay? And let's not just focus on teacher pay also, but we can also talk about pay in general. Should everybody at minimum earn $15 an hour? Should the veteran that's been working for 20 years earn 15 at the same time as the newbie that just starts? I mean, let's start off with the teacher pay and the retention and somehow the reducing of the workload, because I hear a lot of teachers say that they've got a lot of work, they don't have time to do lesson plans, the pay sucks. I mean, can you chime in on that a little bit?
Of course, and I'm glad that you're actually listening. You got your finger on the pulse of the community because those questions came up on the last forums, and that is those are legitimate, concerns. So thank you for keeping your finger on the pulse of the community because it is. And so what's happening is this: when I was there from 2014 to 2018, the teacher association came to the table, right, and they asked, "Hey, we need some type of a platform or a formula or a step." And I'm like, okay, well, they said, a step increase. We used to have it before, someone took it away. We need to bring it back because that not only shows that you respect the teacher, but you respect the career, right? You respect what they do. And so they brought a formula, and then let's say it started at zero, being
Mm,
0 years, and it just think of it as steps, right?
yeah.
A ladder going up this way. And so you start off at zero, and the more you stay with the school district, the higher your pay goes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have 1 year, it bumps up a little step. If you have another year, it bumps up another little step, and it just keeps going. And I think they brought it up to like 27 years, and then they added like 2 more years or 3 more years, and it became 30 years. So at the end of 30 years, you know how much you were gonna make. That doesn't include if there's any raises or any stipends that were added. If the district is healthy. And so when this new board came in, they took it away,
Mm-hmm.
and they took it away only because it benefited one individual that the superintendent brought in from Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm.
And what they did is they removed that step increase because he would fall at the zero
Mm,
or close to the zero and would be making a lot less than everybody else. But guess what? That's not fair for the teachers that had been there forever. So what
right.
they tried to do, and this is what bit them in the foot because they didn't think it through. Is that okay? Let's increase everybody to $15. That's good. I don't have any questions, and I don't have any qualms about that. That was good. What they didn't think is that you brought up these guys that were at the minimum wage salary to 15 with zero experience, but you have the people that were there 20 years at $15.16. And so what it did is it created a compression, which is now what they're trying to fight
Right.
because now it affected the majority of the staff within the school district. So now you have someone that comes at 0 years of experience with someone that's got 20, and that person with 20 is only making 16 cents more.
Hmm.
So now you took away the value of that, seniority.
Right.
And we call it in the fire department, we call it seniority. So for every year that you have, you get a little bit more. So the longer you're there, the more your value is, right? Because
Right.
now you put your life into this company or this facility or this educational agency. And so you should be compensated as such. So the longer you're there, the more you get paid, right?
Yeah.
And we had done that, but it was taken away only because of one individual, and that's sad to hear.
Yeah.
And this current board allowed that to happen. So you took away not only their ability to make a little bit more money, but you took away the value of their position.
Right.
And
And
how
yeah,
you
go ahead.
how you respect people, not only is to show them respect, but to pay them what they're worth.
Right. Right. Well, one of the last things I wanted to touch on is, I mean, most of us here who live in Brownsville would have to be living under a rock not to see the kind of drama that has um, kind of, come out of the school board in the last several years. We've had individuals who have been hauled off to jail. You know, we have others that have been accused of nepotism. You hear stories of, vendors and preference for certain vendors for certain things. What can we do as a board to try to put some accountability and transparency into this process so there's no one out there getting the urge to do favoritism towards somebody, but it seems to be an ongoing problem. And I mean, we're all human. We all make mistakes. But it's unfortunate that in the last few years, the board has been mired in so much controversy.
Mhm.
I mean,
So,
what do
so,
you think
so
we
what
could
they
do?
what they told me is that politics is dirty, and it is,
Yeah,
but it shouldn't be, right?
right.
And it doesn't have to be. And so I think um, if someone, and you know this, I mean, if they take away from the school district for personal gain, they should be in prison.
Right,
And and because they have, people are in prison right now.
right,
That's where they belong.
right,
And that should happen to everybody.
right,
Everybody who takes money away from our children and our staff has to be behind bars.
right,
And that and I think if that happens and it's swift and the people see, you know what, law enforcement is taking care of these issues, I think we can bring back the stability to the district. But until they stop thinking that the position means that I'm going to enrich myself, then you're going to have these people going there for the wrong reasons.
right.
So, like I told, and I tell everybody this, I said, if I was to be there, because it's so easy to take, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's everywhere. But the integrity of being able to say, you know what, if I take for me, I'm taking away from my child. And remember, I have kids in the school district, and my wife teaches. If I was to take from the school district, I'd be taking away from their mouths and their education. And when you do that, the only people you're hurting are those kids and those educators. And so you see this, and it's rampant. It's not just at BISD; it's at the city, it's at the county level, it's
Right,
at the state level. But what happens is a lot of the times they get a slap in the back of the hand and say, you know what, because it's a white collar crime, you're gonna get probation, or you're gonna get this. But the FBI has done a really, really good job in pinpointing these individuals that are actually stealing from our community, and
Hmm.
put them behind bars. And that
Right.
needs to happen.
Right.
Eventually, you have people in there running for the right reasons and not to self enrich themselves.
Okay. Well, one of the last things I wanted to give you an opportunity is to kind of distinguish yourself from the competition, obviously. What makes Carlos Elizondo the best candidate for this position? If you don't mind answering the
No,
question.
not at all. I'm gonna put in there the best choice for BISD because that's my slogan. um, First and foremost, I have the things that I love the most,
Mhm.
the things that I really hold dear to heart. And of course, that's my kids.
Yeah,
Two of them have left, for the university, and I still have a 14-year-old that just started freshman year at Homerhand High School. But I make the decisions that I try to make when I'm there as a school board member, and when I will be there November the 9th or November the 8th, God willing, is in the best interest of them. How can I sit there and be able to bring in programs or bring in avenues to be able to educate these kids? Because like I wish my kid was a doctor, but guess what? They went into business.
yeah,
I wish I would have gone into the medical field, but they didn't. But there's avenues within the school district to be able to give them those paths that they want,
right.
you know. And if we pay attention to that, I think the school district will be successful.
Yeah,
I said, and allow these kids to be themselves. Holistically, you got to treat them as a whole person, not just, you know, by numbers.
right,
And what we see lately is it's all they think about is ADA. Yes, ADA is very important because that's how the school district gets reimbursed. But are those monies being used in the best interest of their education?
right.
And right now, I don't think they are.
Yeah,
You notice that there was millions stole from the school district, and one of the board members went to prison.
yeah,
Well, that's where she belongs. She
right,
took away millions of opportunities for these kids to succeed.
right,
That's the way I see
right,
it. And what am I going to do? I'm going to put in like I do with everything I do. I'm going to put my heart into it.
right,
I'm gonna go back in there and try to get these programs back to where they need to be. Install the LVN program, bring in the EMT program, bring in the fire program, bring in HVAC, electrician, carpentry. There's so many programs that we can do to give these kids the opportunity to succeed. It's unbelievable.
right.
Like right now, I'm sitting, and this is why I'm also a little late, is because I'm sitting because I drove. They asked me for a favor, so I drove about 35 kids from Mexico. We picked them up at the bridge to Port Isabel because they didn't have transportation here. So we're able to bring in some bands and bring them to here so they can play Port Isabel Tarpons.
Oh,
And that's what
wow.
we're doing. But while I'm sitting here, there's this 18-wheeler from, I think it's the Texas A&M, teaching them how to weld.
Yeah,
And you see these sparks coming out of this 18-wheeler. And so I asked the superintendent, what's going on? I said, oh, that's one of the programs that we instilled here. They have a welding program for these kids because they know that that's an avenue for these kids to be able to succeed.
yeah,
And they're bringing in more. And I'm like, why is BISD falling behind?
yeah,
Because we have board members thinking within themselves instead of looking outside of themselves.
yeah,
Why am I running? Because I think I can bring value to that position that has been lost.
yeah,
Why am I running? Because I think I can bring in a budget, a zero-based budget means live within your budget. If we can do that, we can have more money to give back to our educators, to
yeah,
our staff.
yeah,
You don't have to raise taxes to do that.
yeah, yeah,
You give BISD the value that it deserves. And by doing that, you give the respect to the individuals who are educating our children, which are educators and their support staff. It's not just teachers. It's
right,
it's huge. It's a team. And so I think I can bring that approach, is being able to bring these people back together because they do want to educate. They're just tired of the overload, of the monotonous attitude that these people have, of the bullying, of the multiple programs that they're being forced to use to do one task.
right,
That is just destroying these people's drive to be educators anymore.
right.
People are leaving the school district after 20 years,
Yeah,
30 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year,
I've heard
because they
about
get
it.
there, they're like, what do you mean? And you're talking about individuals who were born to educate.
Right.
BISD has taken that flavor out of their mouth, has taken that drive, has broken their soul.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the feeling of these people that don't even want to go back to work the next day because BISD is just disrespecting them
They're burnt out. Yeah. Yeah.
completely?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I think I can bring that part that is missing right now back to the school district, but I
Yeah.
can't do it alone. I can't. I can sit here and I say, you know what, if I win and God willing gives me the ability for everybody to believe that I'm the right person for that, or I'm the best choice for that position, and I get in there, but you still have the majority of the board, you're looking at 4 more years of the same thing.
Right.
Can BISD and the staff survive 4 more years of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to bring in brand new people to be able to bring in new change, bring a new direction to the school district. Because as you can see now, the burden has fallen on the taxpayers because they have failed their
Yeah.
educators.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Elizondo. Well, we've gone almost an hour here.
Oh wow, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, that was pretty quick. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I know I was a little bit of a pain in the butt when it
Hey,
comes to asking you to come on, but
that's all right.
I hope you enjoyed the hour here. It was nice getting a perspective about what you want to accomplish should you be elected this November. We wish you the best of luck. And everybody, I believe the elections start, what, October 24th? Something
October
like that.
24th is the first day of early election. It'll run through, I think it's the 4th, and then the last day to vote is November the 8th.
The 8th.
So
Okay.
October 24th through November the 4th, I think is the early vote, but the last day to vote is November the 8th. And
Okay.
we don't want you to go to November the 8th, guys, because it's a little more difficult. You know, you got to go to your precinct. If you do an early election, you can go anywhere and be in and out in about 2 minutes.
Right.
So we try to make sure that everybody goes early.
Yeah.
And you still have time to get people to register to vote. So if you know of someone that hasn't registered, it's super easy. You can download the application or you can go in person. It takes you about 5 minutes to
Yeah.
get it done. The last day to be able to do that is I think it's the 11th. Yep, the 11th of October. So you have 5 more days left, I think it is. Yeah, 5 more days left to be able to register to vote. Get everybody to go out there. It really will. This school district really depends on your voice and your vote.
Right.
And
Right.
I hope I can get the majority of the votes to get in there and start working.
All right. Well, sir, we wish you the best of luck. Like I said, you're always welcome on this podcast. Anytime you want to come on, just give me a chime. We'll be
I
glad to
will.
have you. Like I said, everybody get out and vote. Mr. Elizondo is running for place one on the school board, and we will see you next week. Next week, we will have Mr. Carlos Cascos on, I believe, Thursday, I think.
El
So,
tocayo.
all righty, sir. Well, you have a good evening, and
Thank you
we'll
so
be
much.
talking.
Thank you for your attention and then your viewers. Thank you so much. I am gonna call you maybe or send you the messenger. I'm doing a little gaming, but I'm not as good as I used to be. I used to use the old Atari 2600 and
Ah,
went to the Coleco and then did a little bit of gaming. But I bought a new computer. Bought some stuff. I
uh
might
huh.
ask some questions. Some. I know you're probably the expert at that field,
Yeah,
or
no
your viewers
problem.
are.
If you need help, let me know.
I will. Thank you so much. I
All
really
righty.
appreciate it.
You
Thanks
have
for
a
having
good
me.
night, sir.
You
Bye
too. Bye
bye.
bye.